Hey everybody, welcome to the Richard Listens Show, and tonight is a privilege and an honor to have a world-renowned specialist on the world of competitive gaming, and many of you want to know all the different angles we're going to be going into, so we are honored to have a orthopedic surgeon who specializes also in competitive gaming. And what's more important than that? You don't need to hear more about me. I'm sure I'll divulge enough during the show. It's been an exciting few weeks. Thanks to all of you, your comments from our last guest, dentist to the Brooklyn Nets, Dr. Andrew Sarowitz, and for all the suggestions about topics coming up. And guests, please continue to subscribe, like, and share on YouTube, Spotify, and we'll be streaming upcoming shows through Instagram Live, YouTube Live. So we appreciate all your growing reach, suggestions, questions out there, people who are reaching out to me. They're athletes on teams who are pushing themselves in developing the sports psych mindset. So without further ado, my guest tonight is, as I said, orthopedic surgeon and works with professional gamers. You can watch many of his YouTube videos and practice some of the exercises I was trying today on eye movement and flexibility of the joints. Without further ado, please welcome to the show Dr. Levi himself, Dr. Levi Harrison. Thank you for being
Richard, happy to be here with you today. It's going to be a really great show. I really think it's important that we talk about gamers and talk about what they offer and really break the stereotypical thinking about what a gamer is and who games. Because gamers really age, that demographic is quite wide, from a 5-year-old who's gaming to someone in their late 80s or 90s who's also gaming. So there really is no range. Often people think, well, if you're a gamer, then you're between 18 and 24. That's not true at all.
Well, that's a good question. What's the oldest gamer you've seen in your office?
Well, the oldest gamer I've ever taken care of was a lady in her mid-80s who was playing a word game and developed severe pain in both of her thumbs from playing every day. So, it's not just the teenagers.
I'm glad you say that, because I visit a lot of seniors in assisted livings,
Yes.
and crosswords and puzzles are, those are key to their identity. So I could see how that would be
Absolutely.
An industry hazard that
Absolutely.
would need some education.
Right.
How about the youngest?
Well, the youngest I've seen was 8 or 9, and he was playing with a console and developed pain in his fingers and both of his wrists. So it shows you that it can be anybody, male or female, from 5 or 6 to late 80s or 90s.
And how about you personally? I mean, right, being an orthopedic surgeon in its own right is a pretty demanding job, which probably took you at least a decade to prepare for.
A little bit more, right?
At least a decade.
Exactly.
Yeah. So how did you game yourself? I mean, what's the personal story?
So interesting. I gamed as a kid. And then I really stopped gaming a lot throughout college because of just the work ethic, because of what I needed to do. And then I went back a little bit, and then as I started taking care of gamers, one specifically, who was actually a friend now, that it just started expanding from there. So now it's a part of my life as it always has been.
And did you notice early on, like what they call, like with the neck tilted down? I mean, what were some of the injuries that you started to study or experience yourself firsthand that were becoming problematic?
That's a great question. The first things that I started seeing in my practice were individuals having issues with their wrists. That was number one. And from wrists to fingers to elbows to neck. And all of this is really associated with posture. It's really imperative that we tell the gaming community that it's important that you have your workspace or your gaming arena station set up ergonomically so that there's less stress and tension on your neck, your back, your shoulders, that your shoulders are square when you're playing, that your fingers and wrists are not in hyperflexion or hyperextension, that everything is in a neutral position when you're playing, and then to take stretch breaks every hour, to take 5, maybe 10 minutes just to stretch your fingers, stretch your wrists, your hands. On my YouTube channel, I have a tremendous number of videos there specifically for people who are gaming. And if you're not gaming, if you do a lot of typing or texting, or if you're a social media influencer, the website will also help you with some of the exercises there. And the catalog has well over 200 videos on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, I mean, and I'm appreciative that that's out there for influencers. I can't imagine the amount of texts or time they spend on Instagram per day. But even for the average human being right now, I mean, how much, how do you calculate usage or overusage of those joints?
Absolutely. Absolutely. I'll share this with you is, I always remind people to look at, everyone's phone will tell you what your how many times you were on the phone that week, for example, and what your usage was that week on your phone. So think about it. When you're on the phone, you're not simply looking at the phone. You're typing, you're texting, you're doing something very active. Well, with all of that activity, think about how many times your fingers and joints are bending, flexing, flexing, flexing. So it's a lot. It can be not only thousands of times during a month, but hundreds of thousands of times during a month and millions of times during a year. So was the body made for that? Absolutely not. That's why they come to me. And so my job always look as several. One, prevention. What can I do to share with you that you don't develop these issues? And then once you develop them, what can I do to help you minimize any further issues and also help you to not have any further injuries? So it's all about a balance. I tell people really, Richard, it's about moderation. I think that's life in general, moderation. So it's not over-exercise, but you have to exercise daily. Not to overeat, but you must eat daily. So the same with gaming. It's about game. You can game every day if you want. However, it's the number of hours that you game. So instead of 8 to 16 hours a day, what about 6 to 8 or 9 hours a day? And maybe less than that if you're very active with your family. It's all about that balance.
Yeah, so how do we, now you're talking about influence, you're talking about professional gamers. We were talking about what the salary ranges are right now. I mean, for our audience out there, I mean, what are some of the top gamers?
Okay, it can be quite tremendous.
Yeah.
I mean, these are teams that are making in a weekend millions of dollars. So it's not like 30 years ago you said that you were gaming or on Atari or stuff like that, saying, well, you're just doing it because you want to do it now.
Hey, I won my Tecmo Bowl championship.
Exactly.
Okay.
Okay. I bet you didn't get 6 digits for it though.
No.
Right. So it's a very different world right now with respect to gaming and how much these players are making, and when they're making millions of dollars like this, I think they should be making it because they sacrifice a lot of their body. They sacrifice being with their family. They sacrifice part of their education. There's a tremendous amount of sacrifice in becoming a professional gamer or even an elite gamer.
So how receptive do you find, like, our elite gamers, just like elite athletes, are they coming to you and going, I just got to keep going, like they're just driven by the money, by the commitment, by proving something to the world? Or how many do you find are open to this kind of feedback from you or from any preventative mental health expert?
Well, I appreciate that question. I'll tell you, they're often very open to it because they come to me, and I've never seen one that was driven by the money. All of them are driven by the spirit of competition, of wanting to be the best, of wanting to make their team better, of wanting to make their families and their managers proud of them. And also, it's really about fostering a spirit of cooperativity, where there's cooperation between the teams, where everyone on the team, they want to cooperate with each other, but more importantly, they want to do what they can to elevate the status of the team. They want to really win together. One thing I really love about gamers is that it's real clear to me that when they come to me, even if they're hurting or have an injury, that they're there because, yes, they have some pain, but they're really there because they want to help their team get to the next level.
So what sport do you compare us to? Because I hear you talking. I hear you using all the verbiage of, groupthink, team dynamics. And we don't think of, now, whether I have that ingrained stereotype myself, of a gamer as being a team athlete. Right?
Well, they are. Gamers are athletes. These are individuals who should be respected and appreciated as what I call the classic athlete, which is a basketball player, a football player, a softball player, soccer player, a cricketer, a bowler. Gamers should be respected the same way. And with that said, I'm hoping one day that the gaming community will be embraced by the Olympics Committee, and that there will be, the a gold medal, silver medal, bronze medal for the best Overwatch player, for the best first-person shooter player. I think things have to evolve, and I think that will come to pass. It must, actually.
So I'm glad you said that, because that would highlight, right, some of the positive aspects of competing, of focusing, of working together. Coming from being a crisis responder, I have to ask you about the flip side of that, right? What's happening to the brain of someone who's playing 12, 15 hours of Fortnite or Overwatch, and how do you educate or moderate for those effects? Because from what I understand, the limbic system gets activated as if you are shooting, as if you feel someone is coming at you. All those senses get activated, and we can tie that maybe into a little bit of gamer rage. So how do we deal with that, right? Where there's, no matter what your intentions may be, no matter how committed to your team and furthering your athletic career and your the everything healthy, earning for a family even, right? How do you control how much your exposure to violent imagery affects you?
Well, I think a lot of the data for that is still pending and not exactly clear. There are a lot of hypotheses about the effect on the developing brain. There was recently I think it was the CDC who actually talked about naming a specific form of gaming. I can't think of the name of it right now, but it'll come to me. Of saying how gaming is actually can be considered an addiction. So I think the data is still out. I think we'll learn more within the next. I look at gaming really as so new and innovative with respect to how many hours someone should play or shouldn't play, that we really don't have any specific tie-ins about its detriment to the human brain right now. We really don't. But there are a lot of papers that are saying that maybe there are some things that are not the best. But until I really see like a great double-blind study that's peer-reviewed, then I can't say anything about that.
And how different is it for an adult? My practice, I know several of the doctors from local hospitals. They're staring at EHRs. Their screens are constantly hitting them with pending emails and alerts. For the rest of us that are dealing with the demands of being on screens most of our waking lives. Right.
So you have to think the screen time like that is any different than, being focused on playing a game on the screen. I think, again, that there's no data to substantiate any major correlations there that are detrimental to the development of the brain.
Now, in your role as a physician, do you see, when you see people come in with injuries, are you noticing depression, suicidality? Are you experiencing that? Or do you think a lot of people who are having those feelings are not reaching out?
Well, some of the athletes I take care of, when I start my care of an athlete, my initial triage is to really take a complete, comprehensive history, and from there we really talk about their feelings. Are they in a state of overwhelmed? Are they in do they have a lot of stress? Do they have a lot of anxiety? Are they sleeping well? Are they eating well? Are they exercising daily? Do they have a meditation program? Do they have a gratitude program? What do they do with the team to be more social? Do they have a life outside of the team? These are all things that we talk about. Have they had any type of suicidal ideation? These are things we talk about because often they're coming to me not only because of the physical injury, but also because they're in a sense of overwhelm. They really feel like, okay, I'm trying to do my best, but I can't get my body to do what I want it to do, and I'm not winning for my team. I'm feeling stressed out about that. They really go through a lot. It's a lot. I call it the pyramid effect, because it just levels up. It gets going on. Unless you break it at one level, the sense of overwhelm continues to be quite strident. So it's very intense, but it's interesting. I find myself, as I mature to become a better physician, a better man, I think I can be of greater service to the community that I serve.
So talk to me more about that. How has your own personal improvement helped you to be inspired to reach more of this community?
Oh yeah, well when
you say the community you serve, you mean gamers?
I mean gamers. I mean people who have hand injuries. I mean really my whole demographic. Don't forget I take care of, from the pediatric population to the geriatric population, that whole spectrum. So I'm
so you
always,
don't limit who you treat.
Oh no, never, never, never. And I treat a lot of people, with and without insurance. In my practice, we never turn away anyone. So
Wow.
if they don't have money to pay, if their insurance doesn't cover them, then we talk about working out something so that they can still see me. But as far as like saying, well, no, you don't have insurance, I can't. I've never done that, and I never will do that. I think it's part of giving back to the community in some form. I can't do it all the time, but I do it as much as I can. That's for sure. So seeing people who have these injuries and seeing how they want to get better, and they want to be able to provide for their families, it just reminds me I have to do my best to help them get there. If it's an exercise program, if it's a weight loss program, if it's a mental clarity program, it's a meditation program, it's keeping a gratitude journal. We go through all of these things to really talk about to see what worked for them. It's like working out. Some people don't want to go to the gym to work out. That's fine. Well, the goal is to remind them that the gym is where your body is. You can work out just yourself. You don't have to go to the gym to work out, yet you have to work out. If you want to stave off diabetes, high blood pressure, hypertension, cardiovascular disease, stroke, and different forms of cancer, well, you have to work out. If you don't do it, then there's a price for that. Mm-hmm. So it's the same with talking to a gamer or someone who has an injury, that my goal is to get you fit and healthy, to take care of the problem that you have, and then to remind you to not repeat the problem, or not repeat the issue that gave you the problem.
So how do they bring Dr. Levi with you, right? With them, right? Because you're inspiring them. They connect to you. They feel this care. I mean, that's amazing. I don't know how many orthopedic surgeons are willing to see people despite financial means and make that care come first.
Right.
But how do then, when they're with their team, right? Because there's a family-like dynamic that takes over in that team, and if you're not on
That's
Wednesday at 5 o'clock, I don't know what you call that, the party or whatever you call it, right? Mm-hmm. There's peer pressure there, and that can be social ostracization, right? I mean,
well, often with the teams, they won't ostracize anyone in general, but they do want you to perform, and they want you to perform well, because don't forget, these teams have millions of dollars of investors. These are not just like a $10 a day team. No, they're living in a house, in a gaming house, with other gamers, with a manager who lives there, with a team captain who's there, and sometimes there's a cook that stays there with them also, goes a housekeeper. So this whole dynamic is really about family and everyone really working together.
Right? I don't know why. See, that surprised me. They are caring about their nutrition, putting like how they're eating. Well, that's the level of gaming has gotten to?
Yeah, that's what they're doing now. Yes, because they see what the stakes are. The stakes are very, very high. And it's not just about the money, but it's also about the mental health of the people that are on the team. And if they don't have mental clarity, then you're not going to play well.
So this is being not only understood but implemented in the world of gaming right now?
It's implemented by many, not by all, but by many. It's implemented by those who really see the value of the players that they have, and that they really see the value of their own humanity, because you want to take care of these players where you want to take care of your own family. So these gamers should be respected and treated the way you treat your own family members. So you want the best for them. Why not have the best for the team that you're a part of?
So how do you feel about Mark Cuban and the NBA, including a draft for I think it's NBA 2K team, right?
Yeah.
Do you feel it's authentic, or are they trying to reach out to that demographic more?
I think it is authentic. And I think, yes, they're reaching out to a demographic that they feel is going to be viable and will be present. I don't think anything is wrong with that. I think it's, we live in a society that is really about jumping on the biggest and newest, looking for the brightest penny, So I think that if you can find something a platform that works, but more importantly, that is sustainable, that's not a bad thing. As long as it's done with the right caveats, that you're doing it to help, you're doing it for good, you're doing it to be of greater service. I think if you put service at the forefront of everything you do, then everything else kind of falls into place, I believe.
So you're representing a whole different perspective here, Dr. Levi, which is the expansiveness of gaming, the future frontier of connectivity, being able to communicate with players in different countries,
right,
parts of the world.
Right.
Now, I mean, what concerns do you have for parents who say my kid is 8 and he's playing with a 35-year-old guy in Norway?
Right.
Like, should I be concerned? How do they deal with this lack of control of the expansiveness?
Of gaming.
Yeah, game.
Well, gaming is really is global, and gaming has brought about what I call this globalized community of people that, from a 12-year-old in America to playing someone who's in their 50s or 60s in Canada or somewhere else. However, when you're on it, when you're playing, it's you and a team against someone. So it really builds community. I never look at it as voyeuristic and or as negative. I don't see it that way. I think it connects people, and I think when we have greater connectivity, I think gives us a greater opportunity to express our humanity better, to accept more people, to be aware that we're more of the same than we are different. I think it brings about that for us. That's what I think it does.
So how do we confront, some of the things we were talking about earlier, that it does connect you in a broader sense? On the other hand, maybe, you lack the things I had growing up. You're not riding a bike with somebody and throwing a ball in the right. You're spending your time in your own ergonomic gaming center, and they are doing the same. 12 hours difference in Japan.
Right.
How do we replace that gap, or should we be concerned?
Well, I don't think we should be concerned. I do think we should think about it maybe as not how do we replace it, but how do we enhance what is already happening. And I think we enhance it by reminding individuals who are gaming that you have to eat properly, you have to get out and exercise, you have to, play with moderation. So you can't play so much that you avoid building a relationship with your family, with your spouse, with your community. You have to keep that as a viable part of your life. And parents are a key player in that, with respect to letting kids know that, okay, you can play for this amount of time, but after that, we're expected to do this, and this together as a family. Like have dinner together as a family. How many people actually sit down with their mom and dad and their brothers and sisters and share a communal meal together every day? I don't think that many.
Yeah, it's becoming more and more a replacement for many things.
Absolutely. And I think gaming, it's really easy to go to a place where you can just have you and your computer, or you and your console, and then no one else. Even though there are other people involved, there's no one-on-one social interaction, which is very, very important.
Yeah. So how do we, as a community and healthcare professionals, right, and parents that are listening out there, like, we want to support, again, the positiveness, the amazing usage of technology. I talked about what I'm seeing at my kids' school. They're able to send me the review of their homework with a video of them describing it in the middle of my day between patients. I'm like, wow, I just got to see, the whole thought process and everything. How do I combat that with this is kind of a delayed message, right? We don't get to see that the kid may be isolated in his family, and he's struggling because he's not on the playground, or how do we reinforce the balance mechanism when maybe the family system isn't balanced?
Well, I think it's both. I think you have to balance it within the family with open, authentic communication, and you have to remind the children that you have that they are important, that they have to build friendships, and that there is gaming and then there's life without gaming. So there's balance. Again, as I said earlier, one thing I tell all the gamers, the first thing we talk about is moderation. Without any judgment, just, okay, what are you doing? How much are you doing it? And how can you cut back and do less and become more healthy, and also cut back and maybe have more interaction with your family and your friends? Moderation is the key.
And is that harder now that gamers are getting so much attention on social media to say, like, I'm offline for X hours, or,
And most of them do it really well now because they know it's best for their mental health, and that if they take these smaller breaks, they'll have a greater opportunity for more sustainability with respect to being better later. So they're doing it.
So, and what have you found with, in terms of, we talk about, gaming rage, what studies have been done around there, what's causing it, and maybe what awareness is there in a community to help pull it back if a team member or somebody at a, what do they call them, competition, or there was one guy who showed up right at a mall, a Madden, I don't know if that was related to the gaming, showed up at a Madden, pretty angry.
You're talking the guy that shot and killed those people?
Yeah.
Well, let's say this. Many people who do that in general have, different forms of mental illness, okay, which is something that we really don't address enough in our country. Excuse me. Often people with mental illness are shamed or thought about as being less than, which is really unfortunate, because mental illness is just like, diabetes or high blood pressure. It should be treated without any stigma. But in our country, it's not. So it's the same with gamers and gamers who have rage. Often it's associated with, there's several things that I see. Number one, they're angry because they lost, or someone on their team didn't play well. Or they're angry because they're just angry people. They're just angry in general. This is their makeup. Or there's some form of mental illness there that needs to be addressed. So I look at those three platforms as all, we can do things to help each of them, but we have to do it with open communication. And I always tell people too, is that if you know someone who has a lot of rage, then don't avoid talking to them. Ask them about it. You want to, lovingly get in their face and ask them, what's going on with you, and how can I help you, and how can I help you help yourself? But we often won't do it. It's like, oh, that's the angry lady, or that's the angry guy. Oh, don't talk to them. Well, that's not really the way to do it.
Yeah, so because we've used the team dynamic a lot, like coaches call it timeout. Like, well, how do you address your team in gaming, and how does it even work? Are there rounds? Like, how is a competition run?
Well, every game has different rules and different times of if they're doing a map or if they're a first-person shooter. So that changes. But the thing I want to be clear about is that when it comes to rage, it's really about reminding them, before you pick up your computer and break it in half over your leg, or throw it into a wall, or break something, to stop, take a break, walk away from the gaming station, go away from the table for 5 or 10 minutes, breathe, then come back and play again. Because if you break up everything, several things are going to happen. Number one, now you can't play for a while. Number two, you have to have the money to rebuy those things that are broken. And number three, you may build up a reputation online as someone that someone doesn't want to play with anymore. So all of these things are not good. So how do you avoid them?
Which then leads to shame and other things like that.
It absolutely can be the shame, but also can lead to depression, because now they can't play. Now there is just them with them, and they can't play.
And you take away the positive. Well, you just said the key thing. The whole idea that our brain needs time at play.
Oh, it definitely does.
It's supposed to be playing a game, and so like anything else, I always tell people there was a point in time when, I was in grad school,
yes,
and I was playing poker. The minute that someone discovered me and started paying for me to play, the stress levels went throughout the roof. It became having to be a provider.
Absolutely.
The stakes mattered a whole different level. So I can't imagine when somebody took a game like Overwatch, which they discovered, maybe somebody gave them as a gift, maybe because their friends played it, and now you need to deliver. I mean,
yes.
And if you made 100,000 one year, I don't think it's probably acceptable to make zero the next year.
No, it's not. No, definitely not.
Probably
acceptable.
doesn't feel.
No, absolutely right. It wouldn't be acceptable, and most likely it would be difficulty finding a team that's going to take on someone that's gone from very productive. Let's say making. Let's not take 100,000. That's even very low. But let's say making $1.5 million a year, to making $20,000 or $30,000. That something's going on there. But I usually see the people that are what I call on the cusp. They're on the cusp of actually going from having a problem to either having a really bad problem or a really, really bad problem. So when they come to me, there's like the floodgate, the dam is just about to burst, and someone has put their finger in it. And now they're saying, okay, let's get them to Dr. Levi so that we can stop the dam from bursting. And that's my job. My job is to put my finger in the dam and finally be able to take my finger out and, put some spackle on the dam so that everything is protected.
That's a great image.
It's the truth. That's the way it
but
is.
it's true. Like we forget in dealing with mental health, like the body is a messenger.
Yes, it is.
And especially with the type of injuries. I mean, you didn't use the term, but I'm assuming a lot of the injuries were the carpal tunnel. But when your body is in that kind of spasm or tension, or of such a sign of being that you're emotionally locked in a position of tension. You're no longer at play. You're no longer, your body's in stress.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes the physical doctor, the surgeon, has to then be the first key to any kind of mental health solution.
Absolutely.
So I'm glad to hear that they are open and receptive at that point. But so is it the equivalent of kind of a rock bottom when you come in, you realize it's a physical injury from your gaming?
Yeah, they'll come in with several things. Again, it'll be an injury usually to the wrist or the fingers or the thumb. Like the thumb, your thumb is 42% of all function of most of your hands. So when your thumb is down, you really just have a paw because you can't really do much at all. So if your thumb is down, then you really can't game. There's literally almost no game that I can think of that you can do well without your thumbs. Especially when playing competitively. Now, so we go through the issue of why they're there, what's the physical problem, then we talk about their mental issues that may be present, and then we talk about what we can do to help tie in everything together. It's really, the old paradigm of mind, body, spirit. It really is that. It's that. And then we get them to be balanced in everything that they're doing. It's about moderation. And that's the hardest thing, to really remind them, okay, you have to take a break every hour to stretch, to exercise. That you can't be drinking a lot of coffee constantly while you're playing or drinking a lot of caffeine while you're playing. That's really about, drinking water. Remind them that your body is your temple. It's your first instrument. Our first instrument is our brain. And if our brain is not working, then as it fires off to our body won't work if it's not working efficiently. So it's really a full frontal approach to really get everybody on board, what we can do to help them. The parents, the coaches, the managers, the investors, sometimes they come and they talk to me, especially when it's a high-level player, about what can be done. Should they have a therapist in the house with them for a while? Should someone travel with them? It's a big deal.
A physical therapist or a mental health therapist?
A mental health professional. Absolutely.
Well, that's refreshing to hear, because it seems like the way you're talking about, I'm thinking that some of these guys' injuries is like, hey, just like NFL, right? Put me back in there, put me back in right away, and just can you bandage this up, doc? I don't know if I want the solution.
Yeah, they're clear that when they come to me, I'm not a guy that's about temporary fixes. That's never been my style. For me, my yes is yes and my no is no. So when they come to me, my yes is that, number one, I accept you as a patient, so I'm going to do my best to get you not only functional, but hyper-functional. I want you to actually operate at a higher level now as we go through this learning wheel together to get you better. And then if I say no, is someone that I prefer that I don't want to see, because I feel it's not a match after I talk to them on the phone. If they call and say, well, I want to know what drugs can you prescribe for me, I often tell them, you got the wrong guy. I'm not that guy. Or if they say, well, I need a quick fix of, I'm hurting here. Can I come and you give me a shot somewhere and just take it? Now there are a lot of medicines I can use to actually take away the pain, but then that pain that I take away is only temporary. I want them to access the full potential of themselves so that they can be the best versions of themselves. So we can't work on one issue. We have to work on everything to make them the complete whole person that they should be.
No, but you just don't sound like, the stereotypical doctor. Where did you get this holistic perspective, right? Because no offense to the medical profession, but right, to be thinking that the whole person is not, oftentimes it's, right, I'm dealing with the symptom, and right, we have this opioid and pain management struggle in our country right now.
It's a pandemic right now.
Yeah, so right. Where did you come with that? Because that's just refreshing
Well-
and inspiring, frankly.
Well, I think medicine is evolving. It's always evolved for me personally. So what I do is I bring my own personal who I am to my practice. I don't subdivide those like Levi the doctor, Levi the fitness professional, Levi the motivational speaker, the writer, the author. I don't segregate any of those. I'm a well integrated person. So what you get is me. So all of me is here to be of service to other people. I always feel like I was born to be of service. I think that was my higher calling. So with that said, I say that without ego, but with a sense of gratefulness that I can be of service to other people, to help them elevate their game and to help them elevate their lives. That's what it's really about. Are you the best person that you can be? Are you only gaming? What do you do in your community? What do you do for your family? What do you do with your friends? What do you do in your personal relationships? What type of spiritual relationship do you have? So these are things that we have to address. So I just take my thoughts about life and apply them to my practice.
So what's fueled your tank? What's inspired you to practice all the parts of the integrated self of you in this way?
Well, I think, excuse me, my mother was a nurse's aide. Seeing how she would come home and talk about her patients. My grandmother was a caretaker for many people until she passed away, which I always thought was so odd that my grandmother, even when she was in her 70s, she was still working and still taking care of people who couldn't do for themselves, which I thought was just still blows me away when I think about it. But that was her. She was a giver. She was someone who would always say that one of the statements that she would always say was, only the strong survive. I've always loved that because it really tells you that if you're strong mentally, physically, spiritually, there's nothing that you can't not only battle, but actually achieve and win and get it done. So I think it's really about making the best life you can. One of my favorite quotes of all time is by Abraham Lincoln, and the quote is, "The best way to predict the future is to create it." I've always loved that because I think it's about doing what you can now so that you don't have to worry about what it's going to be. You're the master of your own destiny. You make your life happen. So instead of complaining about what somebody did to me, what somebody owes me, what I didn't get, what the man did, what the woman did, what about just doing you and doing that really well so that you can live without any regrets or doubts?
Yeah. Thank you for bringing that quote and your authenticity present. I mean, and how important is that to hear a message like that when you're in pain? Because
Absolutely.
I mean, I know my back hurt for like 30 minutes yesterday, and when you're in pain, last thing you want to hear is like, you have responsibility or you can heal this yourself. So I mean, I was watching, like, so tell me a little bit about the exercises that you're teaching on YouTube. What are the eye movement exercises about? What are they helping people to prevent?
Sure. So all the exercises are really focused on either a body part, a posture, an extremity. Each video is really focused on what can we do for that specific injury that you have. For example, if you have a carpal tunnel, then I talk about the gliding exercises, which are like basically this. Your elbow is straight and your wrist is straight, and you just go around the world and back around the world. You can add something called flappers, which are up and down.
That's why I had a basketball coach have me do that before the game.
Oh, those are elbows should be straight though.
Oh,
Yeah, exactly like that. Yes, and then it should be around the world for a set of 20, then back around the world for a set of 20, and then you do flappers up and down, right? Then bottom windshield wipers, middle windshield wipers, and then the Queen's wave. All of those,
Wow.
exercises that I think.
is this what Karate Kid was based off of?
You should have asked. I could have helped him.
Ralph Macchio, if you're in LA.
I could have helped him.
He's
He's
still
here.
shooting episodes,
Yes,
right?
he is.
He's still
I could have helped him.
We're plugging YouTube shows now,
Right.
but But
That's very funny. Very funny.
You thought you had
Right.
wax on, wax off. Now you got the Queen's wave.
Exactly.
Johnny won't mention. He won't mess with you
Exactly.
anymore. I mean, maybe we could move into martial arts next. I mean,
Or I have specific exercise for those guys too, for like mixed martial artists and for boxers. You know, because I box. I'm a boxer also. So with boxing, there are other exercises that you want to do, like for, let's say if you have tennis elbow, labrocondylitis, you can do inertial exercises, which are like this, where you bring your elbow again, should be extended. You bring the fingers back along with the hand. You should feel it through here, through the ECRB, extensor carpi, radialis brevis,
now what's
and
that for?
longus.
What do you
Well,
mostly
that's
experience as a boxer? From tensing
Oh
up?
yeah, from tensing up. They come with a lot of elbow problems. A lot. Don't forget, it's the impact. The impact, especially on the heavy bag. The speed bag, and more wrist issues involved with that. But the heavy bag, always elbow and shoulder issues, and sometimes neck even. Right, I see a lot of that.
Right, because they teach you appropriate format when you strike, at least in martial arts, right? What
Right.
part of the hand you're supposed to hit with.
Boxers also. I mean, but boxing, when you're boxing, you know, everything's you kind of turtled up like this. So when you strike in the heavy bag, you know, everything is really, you know, a punch, for example, in boxing, everything comes from your hips. You know, there's this statement that we say in boxing that a punch comes from your hips, basically. Everything comes from your hips, and so they come in with shoulder problems, sometimes even hip and back pain. So it's really varied depending on what the sport is.
So what's going to happen if E3 or one of these these gaming teams wants more of your time? How do you remain committed to all these sports and interests and populations, and yet make yourself available for your passions?
Well, for me, it's really, again, the key words I said earlier about moderation. You know, I balance my life. I balance my life with my family, my friends, my personal interactions, my businesses. I just got involved with 3 new businesses that I'm going to be doing. So for me, it's all about balance. But I never go to a place of overwhelm. When I feel overwhelmed, I step back, I look at things, and then I start taking things out of the picture. So if I can't do it well, or if it's not going to be done properly, then I don't want to be involved. You know, it has to be done with integrity and truth, authenticity, and it has to be a baseline of service involved. If that's there, then you got me. I'm there to help.
So what do you tell physicians that are just being really overrun, like by definition of overwhelm? I just feel like the pure volume of patients needing to be seen these days has gone up. The demands on physicians are greater. Like, how do we protect those that are being of service?
Yes. Well, I gotta tell you, I've spoken in my practice to many physicians about this, and some are receptive about really exercising more, about taking time to be with their families, about working less hours, but many feel overwhelmed by the changes in medicine. Many feel like they're underpaid and overworked, and therefore having less time with their families. However, I believe that if you have an internal paradigmatic shift and think that, okay, I'm going to work less and be more with my family, this is a win-win for your work as well as for the family. That I'm going to volunteer at a veterans organization or Wounded Warriors or Make-A-Wish Foundation or the Shriners Foundation. I'm going to do something outside of myself. Then you give yourself that gift. When you give to others, you actually give yourself the gift of giving. I hope that makes sense.
Oh, absolutely. I just personally started to cut down the amount of evenings I'm seeing patients to go and mentor one night a week, and I recommend it to all my clients so that they don't think I'm a hypocrite. But you feel like, oh, I get to rediscover again why I like talking to people.
Exactly.
I get to feel like I'm helping, because when there's some form of compensation or it's your role as doctor, it begins to feel like
Work.
yeah, it's work. And so there's not the sense of tying it back into our conversation about gaming. It's not play anymore, and there should be a sense of play in connecting to another human being who you thought was different than you, or you just didn't even know what the connection was, and you discover something, and that can completely open new directions, new relationships.
Absolutely.
New excitement, new passion.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you have to have, so I did a TV show today, and one of the questions that they asked me was, what do you do in your downtime? you do a lot of this and a lot of that, and they ask me a lot of questions. I said, well, in my downtime, I do what I want to do. I just take time for me. And one of the hosts, she said to me, she said, well, there are only 24 hours in a day, Dr. Levi. What do you mean? I said, well, trust me, out of those 24, I'm able to cut that down and do what I need to do so I can make sure I exercise every day, that I'm cooking my meals, that I'm eating properly. I don't find it a challenge. I find it's like easy to do because I do it really well. I think self-care is one part of the medical picture for most healthcare providers that they forget. You have to, yes, we take care of other people, but you have to take care of yourself. In order to render better service to people, you have to be healthy, you have to be fit, you have to have mental clarity, you have to be mentally balanced. All of these things are needed. And without that, then you're giving less of yourself, and then as time goes on, you have less and less of yourself to give. You know, I always think about, a friend of mine, she told me once, I've always loved this analogy. She said, well, this is maybe 10 years ago. She said, Levi, you have to always remember you want to serve from your saucer and not from your cup. Meaning that if you have a saucer and a cup together and you pour water into that, well, you want to have some in the cup for you, but what flows over is that's what you give to other people. That's the overflow. But if the cup is not full, if you're not full, then you can't give. You can't give back.
I love that metaphor.
Oh yeah, that was from the great Lisa Nichols, whom I loved tremendously. Yes.
So is the overflow? Is it just taking 2 minutes to do some of these exercises? Is it just giving yourself? I saw you had some videos on there, and I know I'm always telling clients to find ways to get 2 minutes of meditation, breathing, or visualization. Can that self-care look really small and just multiple mini movements throughout the day?
Well, I think it's this way. I think we have to think of self-care as cumulative, and also you have to practice this. You can't just jump and say, okay, I'm going to do 30 minutes of meditation tomorrow, and I've never meditated in my life. So I think if you start off slow, 3 minutes a day for maybe a week or two, then add 1 minute every other week or so. By the end of several months, then you end up to 20 minutes or 30 minutes. And your body is aware of it. And also, the body will appreciate it. For me, if I don't meditate, I have real specific time for that every day, then I don't feel that I can give as much. And I like giving a lot. If I'm doing something, they get all of me. I want to give it all. However, in doing that, I have to make sure I have it to give. So I have to take time for myself.
I'm just getting imagery while you're talking. I'm laughing because I'm thinking about this manager of the gaming team. That he's got to have like a sports site consultant there just to be like, okay, every 4 hours we're getting up, we're doing Dr. Levi's, we're doing working on our opposable thumbs. We're taking a hydration break.
Right.
We're getting out. We're going to go look at the palm trees,
right.
the wind. We're going to do 1 minute meditation. I mean, I'm serious. To be successful and competitive, that's
a lot.
I mean, people think the more intensively we're going to put in 16-hour days, they make me more effective. But maybe as a whole team, right? Because if one guy steps out, then everyone can
exactly.
Oh man, how long's he gone for?
Right.
Right. But so I think there needs to be some team policies in gaming.
Well, let me tell you, when I start with the team, we really go through a contract that we all sign of what they're going to do. And they sign it, they're going to do it. And I check in with them. There's a sense of true accountability because I'm very intense anyway. And then if we agree to do this, okay, then we agree to do this. I think of it as like having a workout partner. We know that it's greater. People will work out more often and more consistently if there's an accountability partner. So if I don't want to work out, then they'll encourage me to do it. If they don't want to work out, I'll encourage them. Well, with accountability with a team, we got 6 or 8 people on a team, then everybody knows, okay, well, you know what? Hey, guys, we've been playing for a few hours. We're supposed to take 10 minutes or 15 minutes exercise. Or are we drinking our water? They know. I even tell them to have on their computer a little reminder every hour. Are you drinking? Are you exercising? Are you taking a hydration break? Did you stop to rest your eyes? Did you do the eye exercise? You have to do that because sometimes, don't forget, they're playing for 12 to 18 hours a day. If you don't remind them, it won't get done.
So I mean, are teams as motivated to this as we want them to be, or
Most are.
if they have a losing season, is it like, hey, Dr. Levi, sorry, your methods are...
No. Most are very amenable. They want to win, but they want a healthy team, so they want to do it. Yeah, they're not. Or even a parent who brings a child in who they think has video game addiction. I have to talk to them about that. They're bringing them in because they want the help. I'm clear about that.
Are there crisis hotlines out there? I mean, what is the best resource we can
Well,
provide?
I always tell them, for example, if there's the issues of suicidal ideation, there's a 1-800 number for Suicide Prevention Network, and maybe we can put that on the website. Put it on the show later. I think that'll be great.
Yes, we will. Thank you.
So I think the bottom line is this: we want to do everything we can to prevent crisis. And how do we do that? Again, by reminding everyone about moderation. Moderation is the key. I really believe it is. And then exercise, diet, meditation, gratitude. These are all things that I think help us to be better people, as a better physician, a better man, and to be able to give greater service to the community that I'm living in.
It's amazing. Well, you heard it right there. Prevention, meditation, exercise,
Yes.
Gratitude.
Yes.
I don't know how many times a day I need to hear that as a mental health professional, as a podcast host, but it just goes to show you, I think the key phrase that I'm going to take away from Dr. Levi today is integration, because all those different parts of yourself and our children, our community, they're parts of ourselves, and just because they're doing something we don't understand, maybe doesn't reflect our generation, and we certainly don't want to wind up in the dystopian Ready Player One scenario. There are things we can do and learn, and the dialogue needs to remain open for the expansiveness this can provide. Dr. Levi, thank you so much. Please let everyone know all the ways they can. Hope you'll be back. It's a real honor. Please share with everyone how they can reach you.
Of course.
The things you're doing.
It was a pleasure. Well, you can reach me on my social media platforms. I'm on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and it's just my name is DrLevi Harrison, Harrison. And my practice is here in Los Angeles and in Glendale, so you're welcome to come there and make an appointment to see me if you'd like. If you need me to volunteer to help at anything, to speak at any event, my goal is to really be of service and to bring greater clarity about the issues of health, fitness, well-being, and of course about gaming and eSports. So that's me. That's how they can reach me.
And officially known as the Gamer's Doc.
That's me, Dr. Levi, the Gamers and Esports Doctor.
It's
That's
right
me.
there. If you can read it, if you can see his shirt, that's great scrubs right
Yes,
there.
it is.
I may have to get me some version of that. We always want scrubs, we just we don't accept that we spend most of our day in khakis as therapists. But everybody, thank you so much for tuning in. We love highlighting for you. We hope we've covered eSports, injuries related to it, and the related mental health concerns and the strengths. Let's not neglect to see what amazing possibilities are being opened up by this entire realm. Thank you again for listening. Please, YouTube, Facebook Live, if you want to live stream, iTunes and Spotify on All Access Broadcasting. And we'll be back next week, I believe. So stay tuned for our next guest. Please keep giving us shout-outs. Who do you want to see? We're going to have, hopefully, legends in bowling. Any sport that I haven't contemplated yet that we haven't covered, send it our way. We hope to represent you. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Take care. Wow.
Thank you.